How do you start creating a presentation? Where should you begin? What steps should you take to do it right? One of the most common mistakes I see in the world of presentations is that they are created in a chaotic mode. Of course, the authors describe it differently. They call it spontaneity. You'll agree that being spontaneous is better than being chaotic, but too often one equals the other. In presentations, spontaneity often leads to chaos. Good presentations are the result of a process. The better you master this process, the better presentations you will create. Before I dive into the process, let's start with a quick quiz. Think for a moment, how do you start creating a presentation? A. By opening PowerPoint. B. By defining the audience. C. By setting your goal. Or D. Maybe by making a cup of coffee. Which answer did you choose? If you pick B, C, or D, you're doing quite well. It's worse if you picked A. Yes, starting with making slides means starting with the end. Creating slides should be one of the last steps in developing a presentation. Why is this a mistake? If you start creating slides and writing text right away, you end up using your first quick ideas. You haven't taken the time to think them through, look for better options or improve them. Instead, you go with whatever feels okay in the moment. After making 5, 10, or 15 slides, you might realize that the idea isn't very strong. But now what? You've already put hours into it, and it's hard to let all that work go. So even though you know it's not working, you keep going and going, which leads to boring and ineffective presentations. You're heading into a dead end. Don't do this. Before starting creating slides, take a different approach. Grab a sheet of paper and a pen. Jot down your first ideas and then look for others. Analyze, research, reflect, combine different concepts, consult others, and seek out more engaging solutions. Give yourself time to find better narrative. I recently read a great book, Say It Well by Terry Shuplat. Shuplat, a former speechwriter for Barack Obama, is one of the most experienced communication experts on the planet. He shares his technique for preparing speeches, the 50-25-25 rule. What does it mean? It means that 50% of the time allocating to writing a speech should be spent on analysis, research, and finding the best ideas. The next 25% for writing, and the final 25% for editing. Now let's apply this rule to presentations. 50% of your time should be spent on researching and analyzing the topic, 25% on creating slides, and 25% on rehearsing. Note, 50% is spent without writing a single sentence for the speech. This is how the best communication experts work, and I recommend you try this method too. If the idea of dedicating half your precious time to what seems like procrastination makes you uneasy, I get it. It feels extreme to me as well. But if not 50%, maybe 25%. If not 25%, then at least 15% of your time should be devoted to pre-work. Trust me, this will help you create presentation faster, avoiding dead ends, and do it better. And if I can't convince you, maybe Abraham Lincoln can. He once said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." So before you dive in, take the time to sharpen the axe. What does this pre-work involve? It consists of several steps. Step 1. Gather materials. Preparing a corporate presentation on quarterly sales results may only require checking Excel sheets for relevant data. However, Preparing for a conference, sales, motivational, or training presentation demands deeper thought. These types of presentations require broader perspectives and more potential arguments so that you can select the best during refinement. This stage is crucial and often overlooked by casual presenters who scramble to find arguments, stories, anecdotes, and images only after being tasked with creating a presentation. Top presenters operate differently. They are always gathering potential material. This difference often distinguishes standout speakers at conferences from those who merely fill time slots. Continuously collect anecdotes, facts, images, and videos that could support your presentation's arguments. You never know which might come in handy, and the more you have, the stronger your arguments and foundation. Step 2. Define your audience. An important step in creating a presentation is understanding who you are preparing it for. The audience has a crucial impact on content, style, and message. Consider who will be listening to your presentation. Are they experts in the field who need in-depth information, or perhaps individuals from various backgrounds who require a general understanding of the topic? Tailoring your presentations to the expectations and knowledge level of your audience will make your message more comprehensible and engaging for them. Even more important, what are your audience's general expectations? What do they want to learn? What is their current level of knowledge? What do they like? What do they dislike? The more you know about them, the better presentation you can create. One that matches their individual preferences. Of course, it's hard to design a presentation tailored to 300 people, but they likely share some common traits and interests if they're attending a specific industry conference. When presenting to a smaller group, it's much easier to thoroughly investigate your audience's preferences. A few years ago, I attended a design conference. A short, bald man stepped onto the stage and said, "I know what you're thinking. What can a short, bald, and chubby guy like me possibly know about design and aesthetics?" I ask myself that every day. The effect? The entire room burst into laughter. But that wasn't the most important part. And the key was that he instantly built connection with the audience. He connected with them instantly. His approach was absolutely crucial. His words, "I know what you're thinking," were an attempt to tap into the thoughts of his listeners. You don't have to say these words during your presentation, but it's beneficial to reflect on what your audience might be thinking as they get to know you and your topic. This is a great starting point for your presentation, to meet your audience right where they are and guide them step by step through the narrative. So think not only about who your audience is, but also about their expectations, their attitude toward your topic, and thoughts. The better you understand these aspects, the stronger a connection you'll build. Step 3. Define the goal of your presentation. Clearly define what you aim to achieve with your presentation. Is the goal to inform, persuade, encourage action, or entertain? Your objective will influence the content and the arguments you use. When you have a clearly defined goal, it's easier to focus on key aspects and avoid unnecessary distractions. Defining the goal is often overlooked in the presentation creation process. But without a goal, you won't know where you're heading. I like to recall one of the best pieces of advice from Stephen Covey. Start with the end in mind. If you know from the beginning what you want your audience to do after your presentation, it will be easier to steer the entire narrative in the right direction. Step 4. Determine the context of your presentation. Before creating your presentation, consider the setting in which it will be delivered. Will it take place in a conference hall or at a more informal meeting? Will you be addressing 3 people or 300? In the former case, you can use smaller text on slides. In the latter, every word must be large and visible to everyone in the room. Or maybe the presentation won't be in person but sent via email. In that case, you'll need more text on the slides so your audience can understand the message without your verbal explanation. For in-person presentations, the slides don't need to carry much text, as your spoken words will drive the narrative. Additionally, be aware of the time expectations for your presentation. This will impact how you adjust the pace and the level of detail. Step 5. Define your presentation's thesis. The thesis is the main point you want to convey in your presentation. A single, clear thought that focuses the content and ensures a coherent message. Your thesis should be concise and well-balanced. Sticking to a central thesis helps avoid fluff and makes your presentation more persuasive. When Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, the title of his presentation was "Apple Reinvents the Phone." This was not only the presentation thesis, but also its title. Jobs repeated this phrase several times during his hour-long presentation, and the result? Thousands of headlines in newspapers, blogs, TV news echoed in the exact phrase, "Apple reinvents the phone." The human mind prefers simplicity. If you present your audience with a coherent, easy-to-remember thesis, they will adopt it and spread it. Think of one sentence that summarizes your entire presentation. One sentence, no more than 10 words. Refer to it several times throughout your presentation and let it resonate strongly, especially at the conclusion. Step 6. Start sketching the structure. This is not the time to open PowerPoint. For now, you need to organize your collected material into a preliminary structure. A sheet of paper and a pen will do. Alternatively, use sticky notes. Imagine each sticky note represents slide, and you can write down the idea you plan to present on it. Stick them on a desk, wall, or a flip chart. As you consider different structural options, you can move those notes around freely. Looking at your presentation layout from a distance allows you to see what needs adjustment, whether the sequence of points works, or if something is missing, perhaps humor or a strong argument. This method gives you a clear view of your presentation's structure. You can achieve a similar effect if you've already started inputting ideas directly into PowerPoint. Use the slide sorter view, which shows your presentation as a collection of small tiles. Alternatively, you might use a digital tool like Miro, which I frequently rely on. It allows you to create mind maps and arrange virtual sticky notes. However, most presentation experts recommend working analog at this stage. Something about hand-to-paper connection unleashes greater creativity. I've tested this repeatedly, and it works. When time allows, I sketch my initial presentation ideas and structure them on paper. Step 7. Test your narrative. Once you have a general outline of your presentation, you may feel tempted to start creating slides. Hold off for now. Instead, begin practicing your delivery, preferably aloud, to hear how your points flow. As you speak, you'll identify inconsistencies, gaps, or weak points in your narrative. This is the stage to refine your story, adjust the sequence of ideas, and strengthen your arguments. Without the constraints of finalized slides, your mind remains open to improvements. Only after practicing a draft version and feeling fairly satisfied with it, should you move on to the next phase, working on the slides. Step 8. Write text for your slides. Now it's time to transfer your ideas onto actual slides. Focus on creating short, concise phrases that support your verbal narrative. Avoid slides with too much text. They should be readable and serve as an aid for the audience, not replace your spoken words. For large conference presentations, minimize slide text. Single phrases, words, or sometimes no text, just impactful visuals. For smaller business meetings, more text may be appropriate, especially when diving deeper into technical details. And for presentations sent via email, slides need even more text, as they must stand on their own. Step 9. Design the slides. The next step is designing the slides visually. You can do this yourself or seek professional help, such as from us at SlideFormation.com. If designing on your own, follow principles of simplicity, minimalism, order, symmetry, and visual lightness. Step 10. Rehearse your presentation. The final step is practicing your presentation. Rehearsals before your talk will boost your confidence and ensure smoother delivery. You can practice in front of family, colleagues, or even just your phone. Recording yourself is far more effective than practicing in front of a mirror, as reflections can be distracting. Watching your recorded performance will help you refine your delivery. This is the entire process. Let's recap. 1. Collect material. 2. Define your audience. 3. Define your goal. 4. Understand the context. 5. Define your thesis. 6. Sketch the structure. 7. Test your narrative. 8. Write text on the slides. 9. Design slides. 10. Rehearse the presentation. When I present this process during training sessions, I sometimes hear quite sight of disappointment. Some people hope I'll give them a shortcut or a ready-made solution. But this is not a short, easy, or effortless process. It's a multi-step journey. Sure, we can take the easy way out, focus only on creating the slides, do a single rehearsal, and head straight to the presentation. But the real question is, do we want to make a presentation well or just quickly? And by the way, do you want to change the communication culture in your company? Let's connect and talk about a deep change.